In today's lesson, we'll talk about the most common mistakes related to the ra sound and how to get over them. First, when you perform the Arabic ra, your tongue should be directed towards the alveolar ridge without pressing it to allow air pass through and create the proper sound. If you want more explanation about the technicalities of the ra sound, then you can check out this lesson since it contains much more explanation and also some muscle exercises that can help you get the sound right every time. So, if something is not properly executed when pronouncing the ra sound, one of these two mistakes can happen. حصرمت الراء or تكرير الراء. First one to avoid is حصرمت الراء. Now, the Arabic name of this mistake refers to exaggerating the pronunciation of the ra, which happens by pressing the tongue too much, and the result is that you have a sound that is closer to the ta than the ra. This happens particularly when you are dealing with a ra that has shadda on top of it, and if you press your tongue too much, this sound will be generated. Let us observe the following examples. First, I'm going to pronounce it correctly, and then I'm going to point out where the mistake can happen. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Here, if I'm exaggerating the ra in these two positions, I will say this. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Now here I'm pressing my tongue too much. This is not the proper sound and it should not sound like this. You can also hear that the air is trapped behind the tongue and it is not released properly because you're pressing the tongue too much. One more example. الذين فرقوا دينهم وكانوا شيعا. Now, of course, here I have to say الذين فرقوا, not فرقوا. Let's have one more example when the ra has shadda and kasra at the same time. يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا تأكلوا الربا لا تأكلوا الربا. So not الربا but الربا. And if it has shadda and it comes at the beginning of the word, then this mistake can also happen. تنزيل من رب العالمين. That is not correct, and it should sound like this. تنزيل من رب العالمين. So, من رب, not من رب. So the most important thing that you can get out of this first mistake is do not press the tongue too much because the sound will be exaggerated and it will not sound correct. The second mistake that can happen when pronouncing the ra sound, and that is takrir al-ra. And the word takrir refers to the trilling of the ra. The trilling is this sound, r. And when it comes to this topic of takrir al-ra, there are two main schools of Tajweed when it comes to this topic. On the one hand, there are those who've learned that takrir is entirely wrong, and it is a trait that you learn with the sole purpose of avoiding it. So for them, ra should be free of takrir. And on the other hand, there are those who learn that takrir is an inherent characteristic of the ra, and without it, ra cannot become a ra. Here's a recording of some of the most important qurra in our time, and notice how these two schools of Tajweed are reflected in their pronunciation of the ra.
القرآن الرحمن علم القرآن ربما يود الذين كفروا
الرحمن الروح
الرحمن
الرحمن
ربما
الرحمن الرحيم الروح القرآن.
So, which one is correct? Well, if you use either of them in the way that you've heard it now, it would be 100% correct, insha'Allah. These small differences do not disturb the recitation whatsoever, and it can be looked at as a variation of the ra, which is very possible among the different dialects of the Arabs. But then you might be wondering, then why is takrir ra listed as one of the common mistakes of the ra? Well, moderate trilling is fine, as you've heard, but adding too much of it will ruin the sound, and it will not be correct. Let's listen to these examples. الذين فرقوا دينهم وكانوا شيعا. Here it is clear that I added too much trilling to the ra. فرقوا. Now that is disturbing and it doesn't sound correct. So it should be الذين فرقوا. One more example. ويسألونك عن الروح. ويسألونك عن الروح. لا تأكلوا الربا. لا تأكلوا الربا. So, what can we learn from this? Well, just like any rule related to the Tajweed, if you exaggerate any aspect of it, it can potentially ruin the produced sound, and it will not be correct. And for those who want to learn the basic rules of ra in the Quran, when to pronounce it full mouth and when to pronounce it as empty mouth, then you can check out this lesson. I'll also leave the links in the description. Thanks for watching. I hope you've learned something new today. If you did, please like and share the video for other people to learn from it. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you want to see more videos like this. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.